Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Coffee Break, a segment that we really enjoy making for you here on the AvidMax YouTube channel. Today, Dave and I are going to answer some of the questions that you have submitted via Fly Tying Month with those giveaways that we have going on all month long. And you've also put in a lot of great suggestions for topics and ideas to make videos here on our YouTube channel. So if you don't hear a question from us today, there's a chance that we're working on making a video based on the ideas that you've submitted. So lots of great stuff there. We're excited to put out more content based off of some of those fun suggestions. So without further ado, let's answer some of your Fly Tying Month questions. All right, so let's get into it. This first question is going to pitch it over to Dave. Should we be tying flies for fish or fishermen?
The answer is definitely both. Although I think, from a practical fishing standpoint, some flies fish better than others at certain times. But I think one of the reasons that a lot of people get into fly tying to begin with is they like kind of their level of customization and enjoyment just out of tying whatever it is that they want to tie. So,
yeah. Dave is very qualified to answer this question because Dave ties flies for both fish and fishermen. All right.
That I do. All right. Steve, where do you find the best pins to tie balance flies?
Lots of options out there. Recently, we have added hairline balanced fly pins to the website, so you can certainly buy them from there. You might have some laying around from the craft store or whatever you have, but if you're looking to get them from a reputable fly tying brand, check out the hairline balanced fly pins on AvidMax.com. That's a kind of a cop-out answer. I might be a little bit biased, but I think that's the best place to get your fly pins. Another one for you, Dave, is what's the easiest mistake to fix when a beginner? And I'm assuming this is particular to fly tying.
Okay, so I'd say number one mistake most people have when they're getting into tying is they add completely too many wraps. Try and find a balance of, securing your materials, whether it be, at the beginning when you're tying them in, or you're just tying them off at the end of the process. Try to avoid overwrapping, and I think you're going to find, almost every human being who's ever tied a fly has certainly tied a fly that looks great until you get to the end and you're like, crap. You cover the eye of your fly, and it's usually something just along the lines of you just added too many wraps somewhere along the process. Just try and find a good balance of 3-4 wraps and try and move on and make sure each wrap is nice and secure and kind of on top of the last.
Yep.
And I think you're going to avoid a lot of problems.
Yeah. Other than like building up taper, there's no reason to do more wraps than what it takes to hold the material firm.
Yep.
So.
Okay, so Steve, which is better, a dubbing loop or regular dubbing applied to thread?
So again, if you're building up a taper or something like that, you want to have some sort of bulk. You want to have some sort of bugginess or legginess or something like that. You're tying streamers. You're adding a large amount of dubbing. Yeah. Go with a dubbing loop. 100%. It's going to better control how you're adding it. It's going to be more secure. It kind of creates that kind of cording in the middle of that material flaring, so it's more durable. Yeah. It's going to wrap nicer. But if you're building up a little cigar-shaped taper on like an elk hair caddis, or you're building up a dubbing taper on a slender nymph or something like that, go ahead and make a noodle on that. If it's a collar, use a noodle, unless you want that collar to really flare and be almost like soft hackle-esque with your dubbing. Yeah. Those are kind of the general, ways that you would kind of differentiate between loop versus noodle, in my opinion.
Yeah, I would agree with that, 100%. 100%.
Cool.
All right, I got another one for you.
Cool.
What is your favorite major merger pattern, and what hook do you tie them on?
I really like the Massacre midge. You can tie it in a lot of different colors. You can force it down with a split shot, and it has that kind of rising effect. Really great pattern for dry dropper as well. It's a good fly. I like tying it on the 2488H. That's a Tiemco hook. Nice, strong, stout hook that goes down to really small sizes and remains both strong and with a large enough hook eye that you can put good size tippet through it, even in those small sizes.
Yeah. I also like that there's actually a gape, Yep.
Like
a lot of size 24 and 26 hooks, you look at them and you're like, man, there's just like, how is this thing even supposed to hook a fish, you know? So the 2488 is a solid choice.
Very grabby, very strong.
Yeah.
Another one here is, does it really make a difference if you use dry fly dubbing or wet fly dubbing, or will any old dubbing work in either scenario?
Realistically, you can use whatever dubbing you like. But certainly there are properties, kind of specifically designed and built into certain types of dubbing. Dry fly dubbing, for example, tends to be quite fine. It binds really nice, so you get a really nice tight dubbing noodle or dubbing loop. But it also is kind of more prone to being a little bit more buoyant, whereas things that are hydrophobic, they don't necessarily suck in all this water. They can be really advantageous when you're trying to throw nymphs, so they really try to get down. They tend to just kind of get down and just kind of fish better. Yeah. Again, you can use whatever you like, but personally I think, if you're tying dry flies, stick to a fine dry fly dubbing of your choice, and I think you'll typically, have better results.
Yep. Hairline, superfine, dry fly, nature spirit, dry fly, semperfly, K-Pock.
Oh yeah.
They all have buoyant properties. Use them to your advantage.
Totally.
Another one for you. Dave, do you think ugly flies will fish?
Of course they do. Of course they do. We have all caught fish on, the most god-awful looking flies known to man. Maybe it looked great at one point, but, it took a dark road and it's been chewed up a bit.
Hung around the wrong friend from the wrong side of the fly box.
Yeah, exactly. And, they absolutely do. Kind of like going back to my answer from an earlier question, I think having a good presentation goes so far in the world of fly fishing that, some of the ugliest flies work when some of the best looking flies do not. So just keep that in mind.
Who knows what fish really think when they look at it, but if the proportions are good, they could even be horrible. It doesn't necessarily matter if it starts to get pulled apart or if it's like weird colors. Like if the fish sees something that looks raggedy, maybe it thinks that it's like a cripple or something that's an easy pickings in the river. So
everybody who knows me knows my thoughts on the Tom Thumb. If you don't know it, you should look it up. Okay, I got another one for you. What is the best hook to tie a cased caddis on, Steve?
If you watched our pretty recent Fly Tying Tuesday tutorial, I did a cased caddis. We call it the Big League caddis, and I tied that on the Fulling Mill Jig Force Long. It's an excellent hook for a cased caddis, jig streamer, jig stonefly, stuff like that. You have a lot of real estate on that shank to build up a little caddis house or a caddis condo, if you will. So
caddis condo.
It's a great hook for tying up those cased caddis and other things that require a longer shank, but a relatively small hook.
Yeah.
You're not using a streamer hook to have that shank length. So Fulling Mill Jig Force Long. Is my choice on that one. Cool. All right, Dave, I got one coming at you.
Cool, what you got?
What are some other uses for those body weights? And by those body weights, I think that person is referring to either the fire hole, the Hannock, or the Fulling Mill tungsten jig bodies, like I have underneath the casing of that caddis there.
Sure. Yeah, so I mean, they're weights, so they really have one purpose, although from a fly tying perspective, they can do a variety of things. They can simply add some taper, just like the caddis here, allowing to add a little bulk on the inside without necessarily having to add a bunch of materials is kind of nice. Again, adding internal weight, so you don't have to send, 6 split shot on there just trying to get the thing to go down. But ultimately, feel free to experiment around with them. There's scud body weights, there's the little teardrop weights.
Yep.
There's a plethora of options in this world, and I think it's mostly stemming from the fact that people like being creative, so be creative, have fun with it. But the biggest benefit I'd say to them just across the board is internal weight. And you can cover them with dubbing, you can cover them with chenille, you can cover them with virtually anything. I used to put tungsten putty, well I still do. I used to put tungsten putty on the inside of my woolly buggers and then wrap chenille over that. That's a great way to get that bug to go down. There's 1.5 million things that you can do with it, so feel free to kind of experiment around with it.
Totally. You can put it on a little bit more forward on the shank, have it poke out as part of the bead or the head of that fly. You can hide it in entirely and then still put a bead in front of it like a waltz worm. But yeah, super versatile.
All right, I got another one for you because you love your peak vise so much, but do you like the peak vise? I have only used one before.
Yeah, as you can see here, I have mine super decked out. I have a lot of accessories and add-ons to make it really nice, and my opinion is that it's kind of the best bang for your buck out there, with the ability to build it up into like a whole, beast of a fly tying setup. It does everything that I need it to do, and I can change the jaws out on it. I can get a midge jaw for it. There's the standard jaw. There's a saltwater one. It's a great rotary vise. It's pretty bomber. I mean, you can't really ask for anything more out of it that it can't do. It suits my needs, and it's relatively cost effective. So yeah, do I like the Peak Vise? Yeah. Maybe you can pick that one out, but yeah, I like it. It's a good vise.
Steve,
Yo.
can you use real stripped quill over holographic tinsel and get a similar effect as the Semperfli synthetic quills?
Yes, you can. It will have a similar effect, but as far as ease of use, durability, how malleable the material is, and easy to come by, it's probably just simpler to get the synthetic quill. But if you don't have that, and you just have some regular quills lying around and some holographic tinsel, and you want to create a cool kind of semi-synthetic, semi-natural, kind of a mixed medium quilled body type of deal, go for it, man. You can reinforce that. Maybe you just leave it the way that it is, and the quill will kind of hold the tinsel down. You could maybe counter rib it with some tippet, some fine tippet or something like that. That's subtle. Maybe even coat it with a thin resin to make it more durable. But that's definitely one way to get that kind of look. So yeah,
100%.
I'd say go for it.
Yeah, 100%.
Thanks for tuning in to this session of Answering Your Fly Tying Month Questions, kind of a multi-part series of our coffee break segment here on the AvidMax YouTube channel. If you liked it, let us know. Drop a like, leave a comment, subscribe if you want to see more from the AvidMax YouTube channel. And until next time, happy fishing, happy tying.
Cheers.
Cheers, Dave.